ancient civilizations, entertainment was a community experience. The blind poet Homer spoke of the fall of Troy to a crowd, and Sophocles brought the concept of plays to interact as well as entertain and inform. Today we are separated from our artists and each other by electronics. The game, Dungeons & Dragons, is unique in our culture as it allows us to interact with each other and collaborate to tell a narrative. First, I'll explain the history of the game. Second, I will talk about what makes this game different from others. And third, I will talk about the misconceptions that surround this game. A little bit about the history. The game was designed in 1974 by Gary Gygax and David Aronson. It evolved from a tactical war game called Chainmail, with the idea of adding character development and a storyline to what had previously been just a complicated board game. In 1977, the first mass-produced version of the game was released, and it has steadily grown and changed through 4 editions. Also, the game has moved to other forms of entertainment over the years. From Saturday morning cartoons, through novels, comics, and movies, Dungeons & Dragons has made itself known to a much wider audience. Now, let's discuss what kind of game this is. It's what's called a role-playing game. At this point, we'll talk about this role-playing game. Player's Handbook of Dungeons & Dragons describes a role-playing game as, quote, a storytelling game that has elements of the games of make-believe that many of us played as children, end quote. Through the perspective of fictional characters, the players interact with each other, and a fantasy world controlled by a game referee known as a Dungeon Master presides over everything. The Dungeon Master sets a scene to the players, and those players decide what they wish to do in response. Various dice are used as a means of creating an element of chance, like a standard board game. Despite this, in the book Role-Playing, A Narrative Experience and a Mindset, the author Setu Helio states, quote, there are events, characters, and structures of narrativity giving the players the basis for interpreting it as a narrative. This narrative aspect sets this style of gaming apart from the standard board game. Now, I know there's a lot of misconceptions about the game, and I want to address those. Some have claimed that only Satanists play this game. Others have been more vicious, saying that it is only played by nerds. It is likely that there is the stereotypical overweight 30-year-old virgin living in his mother's basement and rolling dice with Cheetos-stained fingers. But in fact, players come from all walks of life. Gender, age, ethnicity, religion, and socioeconomic groups are all represented. And as can be seen from the various gaming conventions, such as Dragon Con in Atlanta. Some of the participants may actually surprise you. In the book 30 Years of Adventure, a celebration of Dungeons & Dragons, the rock musician Ben Quiller, the actor Vin Diesel, and the comedian Stephen Colbert all contributed entries about their own experiences with the game. As for the claim of Satanism, there has never been any substantiated report of Satanists using the game for any rituals. Much like the Harry Potter series of books, it has fallen victim to these claims by people whose religious fervor outweighs their ability to do the research. So in conclusion, I just want to say that, with Dungeons & Dragons, a long history, unique play style, and the wide range of players, this game will likely last another 40 years. This form of entertainment is important as it adds an element of personal social experience to the concept of narrative storytelling. Thank you.